aversion to the origin species. It really did find a way to live.
Monster Hunter games are fairly unique, which is why there is really no other game that fills this same genre. This video hopes to explain the unique game type and help you decide if the Monster Hunter franchise is something you feel is worth your time. The first thing I'd like to say is I never really dove deep into the Monster Hunter world. I have not played Monster Hunter Worlds. The last Monster Hunter game I did play was Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate back when the Nintendo DS came out, and I was a kid, so I didn't really know what I was doing. And since then, the evolution of this franchise has been absolutely breathtaking, fleshing out multiple things that allows you to experience this game in many different ways and have different gameplay loops. To get started with the base game or the story section of the game, this is what people call low rank. And for this segment of the game, Wilds feels really on rails. For about 15 to 20 hours of your playtime, you are essentially locked into an extended tutorial. This game does a fairly poor job of explaining how to advance your character, what skills are, and how they impact the game, and how you are largely reliant on how the monster is acting to determine the state of the fight. Where other games incorporate a health bar, this game relies on a monster being aggressive or exhausted to determine where you're at in the encounter. A new player might not even realize that that's what they're trying to go for here, but that is intended design. The short and sweet version of the Monster Hunter gameplay loop is very simple. You basically kill monsters for materials to make gear, to kill more monsters to get more materials to make better gear. What has changed in Wilds from previous titles is the ability to get the required materials through quest rewards. So if you need a gem or a rare monster part, some hunts will have this as a guarantee for completing that hunt. Additionally, you can save hunts that have bonus rewards as investigations and run them multiple times. This is really useful for decorations, which are essentially the skills in the game. And I'll cover that when we start talking about builds. But before we talk about builds, I think we should talk about the actual combat. This game is made by Capcom, and it should be no surprise that the combat of this game is largely what I consider like combo oriented, where in an MMO you have like a skill bar and you press skills and it goes on cooldown, or in a Souls-like game where you have attack windows and parry windows and stuff. This game is similar, but you have combos that you do to perform your damage. The combos change based on whatever weapon you choose to use, and some are easier, like I run dual blades. It's pretty much the easiest weapon in the game, while others are significantly harder, like the insect glaive or the charge blade. Overall, the different weapons will significantly impact your approach when fighting different monsters. There is largely a lack of a DPS rotation. I mean, they do exist, but more so there is a reactive nature to encounters, since every monster is essentially just one boss fight, you know? Learning the different monsters and which weapon types excel against them based on their attack windows will help you significantly. And that being said, you can choose to just pick one weapon and roll with it entirely. Most people in the community consider themselves to have a main weapon, and as a new player it may take some time to figure out what you like. I prefer simpler and faster weapons like dual blades or sword and shield, while others liked charge blade, longsword, or hammer. The game's combat feels a little more rigid than other action RPGs. The system feels like a Capcom game for sure, but I mean like a fighting game where you're grained into the X, Y, A, B, back, start type gameplay, which leans closer to a game like Street Fighter than it does like a game like Devil May Cry or an MMO. The good thing is no real weapon type is better than any others outside of the min-max communities. Every weapon type has the ability to excel with the right build behind it. Getting into builds, the armor, the decoration pieces are all crafted with parts mostly from quest rewards, as I stated earlier. Sometimes you'll need items from smaller monsters or go through the trading system, which can be more challenging and a little bit more confusing, but it does make the world feel more alive and less like a boss simulator. The world and environment does does really feel dynamic, although I will say that the weather aspect of this game only really seems to affect appearances rather than how you approach monsters that you encounter. I'm sure that there might be some kind of interaction with the monster, it just wasn't that noticeable. There are a decent amount of customization options in both skills and playstyle, as well as the actual appearance of your hunter. This is really a world that you can just zone out in solo or hop in with a few of your friends and work towards individual goals. As I stated earlier, while Monster Hunter fans typically enjoy the lack of monster health bars, it was kind of a shock to me as a newcomer to the series, and only after about 20 or so hours of gameplay was I able to accurately gauge where I was at in any particular encounter based on monster behavior alone. This is a unique concept, and I think it's really beloved by fans of this franchise. However, it does feel a little strange from a newcomer's perspective, so don't feel off if you feel the same way. There is a little to no explanation on how status effects work in this game, or what affinity is and how it is calculated, and how all of the elements in general work. There's no distinct triangle of effectiveness, nor is there split damage indicators when you're actually in an encounter. So you don't really know if your fire weapon is helpful or not. And I learned that affinity is essentially just critical strike chance, which I don't know why the game devs don't just use standard terminology. Crit chance is more or less self-explanatory, whereas when I saw affinity, I had no idea what it meant. The voice acting, audio, and sound design, as well as the cinematic cutscenes of this game, have all been outstanding. The feeling you get when you see two giant monsters have a turf war in the middle of your hunt is awesome. I know Arkveld and Ray Dow have an on-site beef, and I absolutely love to see it whenever it happens. But the animations of your character walking around, animations of the monsters, everything is just outstanding. The only drawback is this game is pretty poorly optimized for PC. I did bring this up in my coverage during the beta where I upped my settings and actually crashed my stream, but really it isn't that bad. You do need something fairly new, I would say 3000 series cards or their equivalents to be safe, as well as a newer CPU. There is also some RAM bottlenecks. It's kind of confusing to see how this game is optimized. Realistically, you just need a fairly decent build to be able to run this game effectively. If you are playing on console, then you will be just fine. This game is optimized for console players, which is awesome. After a little over 100 hours played and a humble Hunter rank 80 something, I feel that I've gotten my $70 worth out of the game. And the good news is that this is just the beginning, since there will be countless releases with new monsters coming up, fixes for elemental damages, and so on. And overall, it really feels like a well-made and fun game to spend some time in. I don't see myself crown hunting or min-maxing every weapon in the game, but with the most current hunts taking anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes at the end game, it is great if you just want to burn some downtime. I could easily see myself spending another 100 hours just messing around and trying things out. So I would say at the base level right now, you probably have comfortably anywhere from 100 to 200, 250 hours that you can spend doing things if you want to play it casually. Even more if you want to actually do the completionist route. Some of my favorite things to do in the end game is actually jump into SOS flare lobbies for low rank stuff and just go bully the low rank monsters like low rank Chatacabras and stuff. Helping new hunters is the true end game. Anyways, that's all I got for a base explanation of what you can expect from Monster Hunter Wilds and what type of game it is. I highly recommend this one if you have a PC that can run it, and it's great for smaller communities or groups of friends that just want to play together. I'll be sharing a few of my favorite builds in this game before moving on to a new game, so stay tuned for that. And with that, I want to thank you for watching. A big thanks to all of my subscribers, and a special thanks to all of my members who support the channel. Thanks again, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.